Already elderly John was a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. He was driving on the highway in his Lada to visit friends and reminiscing about the old days. In his old age, he often indulged in this, immersed in memories. He had seen much in his life, both good and bad, but it gladdened him that the warm moments still outweighed the difficult ones. The man did not remember his parents and was raised in an orphanage until he came of age. The services there were good in those times. Order was strictly maintained, with regular inspections. Everything was as it should be. The children could participate in various amateur activities. John was into sports. Everything came easily to him, especially football, which he loved to play with the other boys. His health was excellent, with great stamina. His talent did not go unnoticed. He was sent to competitions, from which he would return with prizes. The orphanage would celebrate its champion with a festive tea party. After coming of age, when John left the orphanage, he was immediately drafted into the army. He was not afraid to serve and did not try to avoid the draft, considering it a man's duty and obligation to the state. At that time, it was not seen as shameful. No one hid from the military commissariat. On the contrary, military service was seen as prestigious. John was assigned to the Vitebsk Airborne Division, which was among the first to be introduced in Afghanistan during the military operations there. The young recruits were not prepared for this, but they fought bravely and desperately, not hiding behind their comrades' backs. On the contrary, John made loyal friends whom he could rely on and give his life to without regret. A month before his demobilization, all the paratroopers were excited by the thought of returning home, but their unit was unexpectedly ambushed while escorting a column of military equipment through a mountain pass. They did not expect to fall into a trap. They had to react quickly on the go, following the clear commands of their commander. Many combat comrades died at the hands of the enemy before John's very eyes. It was difficult for him to recall those events without tears. His chest still burned like back then. Those who survived received wounds of varying severity. John was also hit by shrapnel so severely that he immediately lost both legs. Despite the doctor's efforts at the hospital, they could not be restored, and had to amputate them above the knees. John endured his hospital stay and difficult rehabilitation. He could not come to terms with the loss of both limbs. How was it possible? How could a young man, still so green, be crippled for life? John could not imagine how to live on. He did not even have relatives. Various thoughts crept into his head, and soon the most terrible ones no longer frightened him. The man even contemplated taking his own life, which was not so easy in his condition. Maria, the young nurse taking care of John, saw by his gaze out the window what he was contemplating. She was always cheerful and meek, but one day she sharply told him, "Don't even think of dying. You'll have time for that yet. You haven't lived at all. I'll transfer you to the first floor and sit by your bed around the clock so you don't do anything to yourself." A lump stuck in the man's throat. He could not talk about this with anyone, and no one would understand him anyway. The soldiers only screamed during injuries or operations. Otherwise, they kept a stiff upper lip. But Maria had worked in the hospital for a while, and despite her age, she had seen horrors. To her, the wounded behaved like children sometimes. They needed to be catered to like babies, while at other times a firm hand was required. From then on, the girl stopped raising her voice at John and patiently worked on restoring his will to live. He really liked her. She was very beautiful, and her character was amazing. It would have been impossible not to fall in love with her. John considered himself incredibly lucky that Maria later became his wife. He could not believe that such a beauty could love him and voluntarily take on such a burden for life. Once involved with a cripple, it would be impossible to leave him without tormenting oneself for life. The man loved, respected, and was slightly intimidated by his petite wife. Beside her, he felt like a fully fledged man, ready to move mountains for the well-being of his family. Unlike many in his situation, he did not hit the bottle or fall into depression. The couple were able to afford prosthetics. Maria helped John learn to use them and was always happy to offer encouragement and rejoiced at even the smallest successes. Once back on his feet, the man went to university and obtained a higher education. Later, he got a job as an agronomist in his native village. John became a respected specialist whom many consulted and visited just to chat over tea and pies baked by Maria, the aroma of which would draw the neighbors in. John and Maria's only son Richard was born, a healthy troublemaker as stubborn as his mother and lively as a grasshopper. The couple started keeping bees in addition to the usual village livestock of cows, geese, and chickens. By village standards, their family was considered well off. "What a handsome son you have," Maria's neighbors would say, already eyeing potential brides for their own daughters. "He takes after his father. He plowed the vegetable garden in no time at all. He wants to join the paratroopers like his dad John and is trying to measure up so that his wish can be seen from a mile away." "Hopefully that will happen, although he still has far to go until the army," his mother would reply, knowing that her son had also started parachuting as a hobby. After the draft, the boy was assigned to the airborne forces. He served honestly without bending to anyone, earned the respect of his captain and comrades, and did not disgrace his father. He returned home proud in his new military uniform, everything as it should be. Only his parents' joy at seeing their son again was clouded by his announcement. "Excuse me, but I intend to build my own life. I'm not a child after all," Richard said after the first dinner with his family. "I won't stay in the village. I've lived here long enough. I want to move to the city." "But son, you've always loved nature," John said. "Is there a girl waiting for you there?" "No, Dad, no one yet, but it's time I earned my own living. I'll stay with you for a bit longer and then go to find a place for myself. Don't worry about me. The city is only 40 minutes away. We'll see each other often." "Well, if that's your decision, we'll accept it," said Maria, stroking him on the head. "You're right. You're grown up now and can make your own choices. You can't live with your parents forever. You need your own place too." After moving to the city, Richard got a job with the police, in a rapid response unit with other sturdy guys like himself. 2 years have passed since then. During this time, John buried his beloved wife and was managing the household alone, finding solace in his beekeeping. His varied and delicious honey was renowned throughout the area and provided him with some distraction to fill his time. As a combat veteran, John was issued a Chevrolet Cube car with hand controls. He loved it dearly, took good care of it, and affectionately called it "My Swallow." The car looked brand new, as if it just came from the factory since John cared for it so well. The man drove it out of the garage and went to lock up the house. He was going to the regional center to visit his friend Lipovie for some honey tasting. He was tired of being alone all the time and wanted some company to reminisce about the old days. John got on the highway and leisurely went on his way. He was in no rush and drove cautiously. The man did not want to depart for the next world ahead of time, at least not before seeing his son get married. Some guys from a car theft ring had already eyed his car from afar. Big, rude, and stubborn, they mostly targeted pensioners who would immediately panic and be scared into readily parting with money just to avoid any extra trouble. Being conscientious people, they blamed themselves and wanted to resolve the incident quickly. With thoughts like these, the scammers stood on the side of the highway, lying in wait for a suitable victim. John seemed like a perfect candidate for their dirty deeds. They cut John off in their BMW, then immediately jumped out on the road yelling about an accident. They just clipped his bumper, but carried on as if the damage was worth $1 million. "Hey, old man, can't you see where you're driving? Do you even know how much my car is worth and how much the repairs will cost?" One started dialing 911, but the man was still shocked by what happened. He did not understand where they came from or why they were blaming him. "You jumped right under my wheels. How could I ram you in my little Lada? You need to be more careful," he retorted to the 3 crooks. "I'll teach you to be more careful right now. Get out of that rattletrap and show us your wallet. Hand over all the cash so we don't have to get violent with you, old man," they said, opening the Lada's door. John got out, and they immediately noticed his legs, bursting into laughter. The man was offended, although he had long ago come to terms with life in a wheelchair. But such behavior was insulting to him. "What? Did you escape from Treasure Island? We ain't seen anything like you before," the scoundrels guffawed. "Cough up the money, Gramps, before we unscrew your little peg legs." John was angry, but realized he was no longer the soldier who fought in Afghanistan. He could not take them on alone, but still tried to fight back, get in his car, and drive off. The young crooks quickly subdued him, even humiliating him by knocking him onto his back. With his prosthetics, John was not very mobile, so he decided to resort to cunning. "Please show mercy. I don't have much money on me, just pennies. I can call my son. Look, he studies teaching at the university, a modest, gentlemanly boy. Don't touch him. Just let him bring the money, and it's all yours. After all, he's a weakling and doesn't know how to throw a punch like me. He gets by with his brains," said the man. "Fine. Call him and be quick about it. We're already late for our other appointments," said the scoundrels, rubbing their hands. They were already anticipating meeting the boy. Although they promised the old man not to harm the kid, they felt obligated to give him a couple of cuffs on principle. They watched as John got up on his legs and called his son. "Son, I need your help," John said, burning with shame as he asked Richard for money. "Some guys didn't notice my car and bumped it, but we decided not to get the authorities involved, to settle it quietly. Bring the cash." The man named a ballpark figure that would satisfy the crook's appetite and simultaneously signal danger to his son. "I'm waiting for you. Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" Richard immediately flared up, but tried to restrain his emotions. "I'll be right there. Just hang in there. If they dare lay a finger on you, just endure it a bit longer." And truly, 20 minutes later, an SUV pulled up by the scammer's battered BMW as they were pestering John out of boredom. Out came Richard and 4 of his sturdy comrades from the Rapid Response Service. The villains immediately wavered, deciding to quietly retreat to their car and flee. "Stop right there, you cretins," Richard growled, drawing level with them. "Whoa, buddy! No problems here. We didn't touch him one bit, guys. You gotta believe us. That scratch there is nothing. We don't want anything from him," said one. "That's right." Richard winked at his friends, and they pounced on the scoundrels, giving them what they deserved. The villains did not spare their strength, trying to resist until John appealed to reason and told them to stop, to leave the lawless behavior. "Let's take their car. No need to wave fists pointlessly. Let them spend their time usefully digging up this fallow field instead," said the man. The crooks were initially happy but did not expect to face a whole hectare of untilled land. "Thank you, son," John hugged Richard after his friends took away the scoundrels to work his plot. "I don't have the strength to deal with such trash anymore. Call on me whenever you need, though. I won't let anyone hurt you." "Where were you headed anyway?" "To see Ted. Wanted to chat over some honey tasting." "Come on, let's go together," said the man. The men visited Maria's grave, and then John still went to see his friend in the regional center. The old friends talked late into the night about silly things and important ones. They thanked the heavens for giving them children who now protected their aging parents. If you enjoyed the story, please support me by tapping the like button, and to get notified about new interesting tales, tap the bell to subscribe. All the best to you.